Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek, the podcast that is ever evolving and becoming altered, as is our geekdom. We discuss everything from television and film to gaming, streaming technology, and simply put, things we are geeking out to. I'm your humble host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and as always, thank you for tuning in. This episode is a little off kilter as I'm trying something new. So let me know what you guys think in all the various places, whether it's geekcastradio.com, feedback at alteredgeek.com, at alteredgeek on Twitter and Facebook, or simply my Twitter handle at SCP21. So without further ado, here's our question of the week. Yes, I'm bringing that back. So the previous question that I posed on Twitter anyway, and this is kind of where I'm going to be holding it, is on my personal Twitter at SCP21. So kind of periodically hold out for that. I might switch it to my at Altered Geek handle eventually, but for right now, it seems to be the easiest way for people to get a hold of me. So how do you feel about your podcast having segments and some structure, but not being radio? I pose this because, again, I'm trying something new with this episode, where it's going to be partially segmented, and then the part where I have a co-host will be on the topic of the episode later on. So I'll get to cover all the same things I want to cover in general, just without necessarily having to waste the guest host's time on it. So 38% of you said some segments okay, 38% said bring on the variety, 0% said just topics or opinions, 25% said whatever works. So my question for next week that I'd like to plug on here is, are there any shows that you were once in love with but have had failings to tell it essentially to drop dead or just to pull the plug on it? The alternating question that I have here is, if you don't like that one, is what are some tech gadgets that you bring with you everywhere you go? Just like it could be accessories for the tech gadgets, or it could be the tech gadgets themselves. But what are some that you take with you everywhere you go? We'll cover that on the next episode in the question and feedback section. So going on to the next part of the show that we're going to kind of experiment here, it's going to be the app or website of the week. So the app / website plugin of the week is Blueberry's WordPress plugin, which, if you're a podcaster, you know what this is. If you have a WordPress site, you kind of know what it is, maybe, depending on what you use or your utilities or whatnot. But one of the things that I found interesting about this, and I'll have a lot of this in the show notes of the episode, they recently did an update that allows podcasters to set their shows so they can have people skip to a position, which, again, enables podcasters to directly link and highlight show segments, making it easier to promote a specific topic, to their audience. Explained Todd Cochran, the Raw Voice / Blueberry CEO. He says that he is excited to have this feature now, and we know our podcasters and their audiences will be too. Previously, you had to use like the AAC format to kind of do something in that vein or something similar to that. So it'll be kind of nice to see where this takes place. I'm probably going to try it out, probably not right away. Once I more so figure out how the segments are going to work on the show, I'll probably start doing it then. But I do agree that it is a good idea, being able to allow people to skip stuff that they, basically the fat of the episode that they don't want, and go right to what they're actually clicking on the episode for, which, again, I find to be a highly motivational reason for podcasters in general to use this, because it makes your show more relevant to those that are listening. So again, it's Blueberry's WordPress plugin, PowerPress. So if you're a podcaster and you use WordPress and you use all those things, you need to have this. It's very helpful for your RSS feed. It's very helpful for just having your stuff on your website, the player, anything. Even if you don't use Blueberry as your podcast host. I've used Spreaker previously. Before that, it was Blog Talk Radio, and before that, it was directly on the server. So, again, it's still some things we're working out on the new website as far as some of that's concerned. But, yeah, it's definitely a must-have, in my opinion, if you're going to have the website in general. So, moving on, we're going to have the review of the week. So the review of this week that I thought I would cover in brief would be The Flash, episode 501, or season 5, episode 1, which was about Barry and Iris's daughter, Nora, or XS, that showed up during last season around the time of the wedding and kind of played a prominent role throughout the show. Also of note for this episode, I'm not going to spoil everything. I'm just going to kind of blitz through some of the stuff that I found interesting and some of the things that I liked and didn't like. But they kind of played with this estranged daughter from the future concept in this, and Barry was extremely concerned about damaging the timeline as per usual. You get to see her in her costume. You get to see her running. Barry has no suit because it was destroyed at the end of the last episode. So he essentially has to, they find one of his old uniforms from season 1, and he complains about it not fitting very well. And the police officers, when he goes to this particular scene, are like, going old school Flash, and he says, yeah, blah, 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 and then he's attempting to fight off the villain, and XS gets in the way and screws it up. So then that uniform's toast. And then they happen to find another one of his current uniform, which was when he was fighting King Shark. So it smelled very fishy to him, he said. And then we know he gets the new uniform, which this is where he gets the ring from his daughter from the Flash Museum, which they reference. So it's really interesting in that they finally go back to the Gideon thing where they referenced the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Barry disappears or dies, supposedly, and that he's still missing 25 years later, and they cover the article where Iris West Allen is still covering stuff about him. They kind of mentioned. They didn't really mention Ruby Rose, the Batwoman, in this at all, although some people are trying to pull nods to it. And then, they name drop a person named Ryan Choi, who I wasn't even sure who that was. But it's basically the third Atom. And I had to look that up because I had no idea who that was. But they had some different guest spots on the episode, and they revealed their big bad at the end of the next episode. They kind of talk about that Gorilla Grodd's going to be back, and the Flash Museum, and they started using words like shui, which took me back to Batman Beyond. But yeah, I kind of wish that they would stop with like the New 52 references, which were also in the episode, and then the whole dodging Batman himself or Batman Beyond. A couple of the gripes were they mentioned the whole thing with Killer Frost and never actually do anything with it in the episode. And Ralph seemed kind of be wasted, and Barry seemed to be kind of playing the earbard Wells mentor to Nora, and you get to see Wally in the episode as well. So I mean, it was a good episode, but I'm waiting to see how this whole thing starts to play out with having the speedsters, and they essentially kicked Wally back to Legends again. So we'll see where it goes from there. But anyways, I think it's overall a good episode and a nice bring back to the series. And there's a couple of little twists and turns in the episode and a lot of fun moments with Cisco. But it's good overall. I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 as a whole. There were a couple little gripes, but overall not real bad. The villains were pretty much throwaway filler because, you know, they have to have a villain to fight every episode and a conflict. But it showed Barry kind of have to be this father figure, even though he doesn't really know. And just pulling from the experience that he learned from Wells as far as being a speedster. So, gonna jump over to the next segment of the show. Hot Topics of the Net. So let the games begin. It's funny, we went from cable packages to a la carte design with streaming. Now everyone has a streaming service coming or is working on one to some degree, whether it's, you know, Disney or I didn't even know Vudu, VUDU, was owned by Walmart, which was totally beyond me. But I guess AT&T is looking to jump into the streaming bloodbath by launching a Netflix competitor next year. Which I'm a little iffy on. Like, I really don't know what they're gonna do as far as that. But they, like I said, they announced having a new one after purchasing Time Warner. So the only thing I can think is that they're going to kind of pool things together. Now, AT&T owns HBO, Warner Brothers, and Cartoon Network as a part of their merger. And it's, you know, obviously HBO is going to be more expensive next year, probably because it's going to be a part of the cable package now. But anyways, they're wanting to launch their own streaming service in late 2019 to compete with like Netflix, Hulu, and Disney. Which Disney is going to be, you know, just as much of a juggernaut as Netflix and Hulu, and so will AT&T at this point, owning all of Warner Brothers. Now, it remains to be seen what they're going to do with Warner Media's content or Time Warner's content. Being DC is going to have their own streaming service. Now, the other thing is you may see a double dip. You may see some of the DC stuff end up on AT&T's streaming service as well because they'll also own DC, but I think we're going to start seeing more HBO content, more things in that nature, just like how Netflix is kind of building their own massive library of movies and television shows. I think that we're going to start seeing the same thing with HBO and with Time Warner's part of being in AT&T. And honestly, like, I don't know how many, and we kind of talked about this in the last episode, but I don't know how many of these it's going to take before the market crashes on all of these streaming services. Because AT&T, I mean, yeah, they're going to have some of these different things that are kind of pulling for them. Netflix and Hulu kind of have a majority of like original content, as does Amazon. And I mean, they have a lot of other stuff too, but they realized long ago that wasn't going to hold out. So they got ahead of it before everybody else. And so like CBS is trying to play catch up, which they're not even really a major competitor. The only thing they got going for them is their back library and Star Trek. And then Disney is going to have, you know, properties like Star Wars and Marvel and so on and so forth, and all of the Fox library. So it's going to be real sticky situation to kind of see how it goes on their service when they launch it. One thing I would like to see is like a better interface than what all of these have, because I've used Netflix, I've used Hulu, I've used PureFlix. Netflix and Hulu seem to have the best setup. I've used Amazon at one point just to try it, and it was atrocious. I couldn't even like differentiate between free and paid materials when I was on the devices, and so I just was like, screw it, so I canceled it. It really wasn't worth it for me. And so I posed this question on Twitter, but will this service make a difference to you? Would you sign up for more than one? Or would it have to, or would you have to select a few to keep costs low? And Tyrannicus on Twitter said that they would need compelling original content that I can't get elsewhere. I never considered signing up for CBS before Star Trek Discovery. And I didn't pay for HBO until Game of Thrones. Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon always have things I want to watch, and I would have Amazon anyway for the Prime shipping. HBO usually does with newish movies added every week. CBS, well, you've got me there. Because he's a Star Trek fan, so he's going to sign up for it because Star Trek. Which I'm not a fan of really a lot of these services. To me, really, the only ones I would consider is Netflix and Hulu, and even then, it's like, I mean, we have PureFlix too, but that's neither here nor there. That's one we pay in a year, and it's done every year. And Netflix and Hulu, I like a lot of the content on there, and some of the stuff double dips. Now, like if you've got Star Trek, the series, they're on 3 services right now. So like you can watch all the television shows on CBS All Access, Netflix, and Hulu, which to me seems a bit much. But I do see it eventually leaving those other services and going exclusively on CBS All Access. Why they haven't done so already, I'm not quite sure, but I'm glad it's still there because I get to watch it on Hulu. Scanner 51 said, my AT&T DirecTV bill is $20 a month. I got WWE, DCU, Funimation, and Google Play. I pay for those just under $40. We also have SiriusXM and Amazon Prime, but that goes under a different, or SiriusXM and Prime, but that goes under a different pay plan. He says, I won't be getting any other services unless AT&T discounts me theirs. I will say this, my old bill Uverse was $100, so I can get one more service and still be under what I used to pay. Which, if you're fine paying that, I mean, that's not a bad deal. I mean, having that big a variety of content and being able to specialize and have the a la carte, that, I mean, I used to be one of the biggest whiners about having a la carte back in the day. But it was more so on television, and those days have since passed. And so I'm not sure where we're going to go from here on that, but I thought it was rather interesting that this whole thing's kind of transpired. But the funny thing is Digital Trends actually put together their best streaming site services. So like they have Netflix listed, and kind of they break down the pricing. They have, which I'll have this in the show notes, so anybody that wants to check it out can find it. So it tells like supported devices, who's it's for. Then they have Amazon Prime Video. They have Hulu. Then they have YouTube, which I don't even consider that a contender. Like, I'm not going to pay for YouTube. Like, it's free for user uploaded content, but it costs like $1 to $3 for studio rentals, $10 to $20 for purchases. Like, why would I buy something on YouTube? I would, if I'm going to spend $15 to buy it on a digital streaming service, and it costs the same amount as a DVD or a Blu-ray. Like, why wouldn't I buy the Blu-ray? Like, it makes zero sense. But you get YouTube Premium for like $12 a month, and ad-free viewing, and YouTube TV you can get for $40 a month for live TV streaming as cable alternative. But if you're going to pay that, you might as well just get cable. Like, I don't know, because a lot of it you can stream through their services anyway. Like Comcast lets you do that. Google Play has movies that you can do the same thing with. You can buy them, you can purchase them, you can do it with TV shows. On various devices, iTunes, you can buy stuff, which that's been a thing forever. Vudu, which is the Walmart thing that I mentioned. It says that, Amazon may be the Walmart of the internet, but that's not stopping Walmart from getting into the online streaming. Fandango Now, which, again, like a lot of these, like Movies Anywhere, really Netflix and Hulu are kind of where it's at. Like, to be honest, like if you're going to have, if you're going to narrow it down to 2, those are the 2 that I would get. Like, just because, like, until some other streaming services come out that are more worthwhile, I just don't see the need to go in that direction. So, I guess, if whatever floats your boat there, but for me, that's kind of the range that I'm sitting at. The other topics that I have, because I have a few more, because these are like the hot topics at the internet, like the the kind of things that I've noticed that are just all over the place right now, which I thought were kind of pertinent to kind of put in one collective place. I wonder if we're going to see GDR or GDPR, the Global Data Protection Regulation Part 2 here in the U.S., because Mashable posted that Google was exposed for their personal data of nearly 500,000 users and didn't disclose it until now, and it happened in March, which is a little shady that these huge companies, I mean, we give all of our personal information to Google and Facebook, and it gets stolen. And they're supposed to be like, oh, we're supposed to be very social. So Google's response to this is, we're shutting down Google+, which, let's be honest, did anybody really use it? I mean, it had a previously undisclosed security flaw that exposed profile data that was, fixed in March. But why did this take so long for them to do? And it was just an API change for like Gmail and Android. So like it just, I don't know. I was talking to a marketer at MLive, which is Michigan's basically newspaper service online. And I said that, I saw that he posted it anyway, and he says, GDPR Part 2, the empire gets struck. Which I replied, only a matter of time until we get our own version of GDPR here in the U.S., which honestly, as much as I dislike government regulation of things, I think that that's probably a wise thing, because if I cancel my account somewhere, I would like the information deleted, not held on to, not sold to the highest bidder, not lost in some kind of a data trail, and sold to advertisers. I would like it deleted. And honestly, like, I think Europe has the right idea on that. Which I don't normally say in a lot of their things, but I think that that's kind of the boat that we want to be on for our data protection, especially with all these hacks and leaks going on. Like credit cards, Sears, a bunch of these companies just constantly are getting hacked, and I think that having our control over our data is going to be kind of the wave of the future. If you're going to have your data out there anyway, you might as well, control your own data, which is why I have social media platforms and everything else, so that I control what people see. It's me, like it's impacting me. So I should have control of it. And that's kind of my mentality on it. Speaking of things that are unethical, is Apple Podcasts' empire beginning to crumble? Because their podcast chart cheaters may be the cause. Again, another reason to add to my long tally of dislikes for iTunes. But it's also the housing many solicitors claim to boost your show, from LinkedIn to Fiverr to Twitter. You are getting, like, if you brand yourself as a podcaster, you're going to get unsolicited people trying to friend you or at you or whatever and send you direct messages. I've gotten quite a few on LinkedIn or on Twitter trying to upsell me to essentially game the system of their front top 20 page of podcasts, which is supposed to be like it's supposed to be for like a better discovery system, like, but what's kind of screwed up and kind of scammy is their charts in general. And I think it's kind of crap and bogus that they even have this problem. Because they've been in the game for so long, their top podcast thing, people can just game the system now. It's not even a realistic way of getting in there. Like, you can pay money and just get your show to show up in there, and not even you could have no downloads. Like, just for like S&Gs, I did it once just to see what would happen, and sure enough, I got in there, but it doesn't reflect a proper standing. Like, I don't know, it's like, and it does work, but why wouldn't you want to put out a quality show? Like, that's kind of my thought on it. Like, there's a lot of shows that get in there naturally, and that's where you want to be. Like, why would you want to game the system? Because now it's starting to create this atmosphere where advertisers or sponsors don't totally trust it. And that's kind of the boat we're on now. You can see what the charts look like, but it's not reflective of what is actually popular. So the charts are definitely broken. That's more so what I'm trying to get at. And the fact that a lot of these services, a lot of the podcasting services or ones that pull from the RSS feed, they mostly pull from the iTunes link. They don't pull from your actual RSS feed. They pull from iTunes and get your information. And so iTunes is essentially the grand architect of 90% of the apps out there that are pulling your podcast information. And that's why it's such a big deal that Google Podcasts is getting into the game, because they're going to change things up. And then you've got Spotify, and then Deezer, which I wasn't even aware of until honestly about 12 hours before recording this podcast. I had no idea it even existed. I think I may have seen it at some point, but now all the major places are telling you, hey, you need to sign up for this. Like, you need to get your podcast on here. And some networks kind of see that as like, oh, you're spreading yourself too thin. It's actually not spreading yourself that thin. It's just getting yourself in front of the most audience as quickly as possible. And essentially, with all of these different services coming and going, or at least coming and everybody joining on them, you want to be first on the bandwagon anyway, before people tend to flood the market. And iTunes is so flooded now at this point that it's difficult to be seen. And then something that's kind of interested me is this whole thing with news drop that Samsung recently plugged a phone. It's the Galaxy A9 instead of the S. It's the A for whatever reason. They announced the world's first 4 cameras on the back of the phone for the mid-range device at photography enthusiasts. Which honestly, I mean, they have, a few days ago, they released the A7 with 3 rear cameras. And now they're like, oh, we're going to do a quad camera. So the 4 cameras on the rear use 24 megapixel main sensor, f-stop of 1.7, and then they've got the 10 megapixel telephoto sensor of the f2.4 2x optical zoom. And then another camera is 8 megapixel wide angle sensor, 120 degree f2.4, and then 5 megapixel depth sensor of f2.2. So on the software side, the app has AI scene recognition to enhance the photos, which I will say this, my Galaxy S5 leaves a lot to be desired in the photo department, especially when there's some budget phones that take way better pictures than what our Galaxy phones take. My wife and I have a horrible time trying to use it. I mean, we don't use a regular camera anymore unless we're like going to a water park, and we have a waterproof water camera for that. I have another one that's sitting on the bottom of a lake in a family member's yard. But that's another story for another day. But the phone's covered in glass. This particular Samsung phone, I am in desperate need of a new phone. I can't afford it right now. So anyways, they've got an Exynos 78085 processor, 6.3 inch FHD screen. RAM is 6 to 8 gigabytes. Front camera 24 megapixel, f-stop of 2.0. Battery 3800 mAh. USB-C fast charging. Internal memory 128 gigs. And software is Android 8.0 with Samsung UX experience. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know if it's like a wise idea just for the more cameras thing. I just wish I could find a more affordable phone. I don't know. I mean, I know Huawei P20 Pro came out like last month or something. with information about their 3-camera phone and their flagship. And it's a 40 megapixel with 1.8 f-stop, 20 megapixel monochrome sensor, and then an 8 megapixel 3x zoom. I'm a little interested in trying it, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of these are getting very good picture quality for modern cameras, and night view and various other scanning or black and white photos or things like that. But I can't see spending like $1,000 on a phone. I could spend that on a laptop and feel much more satisfied. So I don't know. What do you guys think about any of this stuff? Does it impact you? What really stands out to you out of these news topics that I brought up? Let me know in the comments on the website or in the various places I mentioned earlier on social media. So going to be coming back on the other side with some news and speculation on comic books and, well, it's just fun, like, comic booky film stuff. So we'll be back after this.
At this point, he probably is.
And we're back. So, yeah. So they made this announcement that there is going to be a Black Widow movie. Scarlett Johansson is going to get paid a $15 million payday for it. Much like her male co-stars who were in Captain America and Thor, respectively, in the Infinity War. Basically what they made in that film. So she'll make that. Yeah, it's still a heck of a lot more than what Downey Jr. got for the first Iron Man, which is $500K. But yeah, now Downey's like $50 million whomp. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to a Black Widow movie. I would be down for that because honestly, like, I like the character. I like her as an actress. So I would be down for that. Like, I'm just glad that they're getting well paid. And Brie Larson, speaking of which, Captain Marvel, is signed on for 7 Marvel Studios movies. So mind you, she's already filmed 2. She's done the Avengers 4 and Captain Marvel. So that's 2 down out of 7. So that leaves 5 left. So it remains to be seen what those entail. But it says that she's getting in the ballpark of like $5 million for a role in the solo Captain Marvel movie, and then in exchange for the hefty payday, Larson reportedly agreed to the 7-picture deal, which locks her into multiple franchises. So I'm wondering what that means with multiple franchises, whether it be Captain Marvel or be other maybe like superhero films showing up, kind of like how Black Widow's shown up in like Captain America and Iron Man and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with her character when they introduce her for the first time. There's speculation that the Avengers could always continue under the leadership of Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, and Black Panther going forward, and then teaming up with other people. But we'll see what happens. I'm kind of interested. The other thing I'm kind of interested about is James Gunn directing the Suicide Squad sequel, because I was not a fan at all of the first one. And since Disney and Marvel fired Joss Whedon for his distasteful tweet, which honestly was just a distasteful tweet and a stupidity mark of 10 years ago. But yeah, so Warner Brothers has lured another Marvel alumni to rework the Suicide Squad sequel, writing and potentially directing the second film to feature the criminal super team. And there's rumor he may change the entire cast and the characters that are focused on in the thing. And I know Dave Bautista has mentioned interest in wanting to work with Gunn on this side of the fence. And it would be kind of cool to see. I mean, they're going to have Harley Quinn anyway in Birds of Prey, so it's not a big deal if they take her out of it. But we could end up seeing like a proper Bane. We could end up seeing a lot of characters that, never really get any kind of a mention. And so I would be down to see what he does with it. I don't know if I would watch it per se. But it's still an interesting development. One guy's throwaway is another person's, director. So, I mean, they're just trading back and forth at this point now. So, Star Wars new Episode 9 set reports hint at return to original trilogy planets. So they're going to have, all the returning casts. Mark Hamill will be returning as a Force Ghost, obviously. Carrie Fisher will appear with unreleased footage from Episode 7. And then probably that'll be it. But they're going to be filming in like Ireland, Italy, and California, which Ireland is hinting at appearance from Octu, while Phantom Menace shot in Italy as a stand-in for Naboo. Multiple sequences in the original trilogy were filmed in California, ranging from Death Valley, standing in for Tatooine, and the redwoods of Northern California for Forest Moon of Endor. I mean, it doesn't mean that those are going to be the things that they do, but I can't say I wouldn't be excited to see them go back to some of these planets and just see what they do with it in modern day and see, some of these things show up anyway. So, I mean, those are some of the things that are going. The other thing is we got our first look at Ruby Rose as Batwoman, which it's interesting. It doesn't look bad at all, though. It looks like what I would expect for like a CW Batman costume. And it doesn't look terrible. Like, I mean, it could look worse. It looks very much like what I expect for the character. And, it comes right out of the comic book. So, I mean, it's, again, she looks cool in it. Again, if it gets spun off to another series, I'm not going to watch it. It has more so to do with I don't want to pick up another show. Just like Black Lightning, I really enjoyed the first season, but I really don't want to continue picking up another show, so I've dropped that. Supergirl, not going to be watching that this season. I will be watching Legends, Arrow, and Flash out of the CW. I've dropped Supernatural as well. So again, it's just I just don't really want to watch any more TV shows. I'm more so waiting for some stuff that I'm actually wanting to see, which is like the new Picard series and Discovery and Norville and things of that nature. So, but yeah, it's coming anyway for the crossover of having her character show up. So, but they dropped the image of her walking with a bat signal in the background. And honestly, like, if they could have Batman Beyond show up and have like this level of aesthetic for Legends of Tomorrow, I would be ecstatic. But they're saying if the show gets picked up for Batwoman, it would appear during the 2019-2020 season, with Greg Berlanti being executive producer alongside Jeff Johns, as they're attached to all the DC series. So, and then the trailer for M. Night Shyamalan, or however you say his name, Shyamalan, the trailer for Glass, Mr. Glass, teaming up with the Beast and going against Bruce Willis's David Dunn character in this trailer. I did not see Split. I did like the original film, which for the life of me I cannot remember. It was like, wasn't it like Unbroken or something like that? I can't remember the name of it, but I did enjoy the original film with Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis, and I think Glass will be mighty interesting to see what they do with it and kind of round out the trilogy, and who knows where they go from here. I really don't. But it has me intrigued, and it's more so because there's a mythos there, and I watched the original film, so I'm invested already. And so that's why I more so care about that. And then, of course, DC dropped a 5-minute trailer for DC's Aquaman, which I have yet to watch, but I'm looking forward to exploring. And Disney blew its load with a teaser trailer for Aladdin, where they show Aladdin, and then it sounds like you hear Frank Welker doing "A Diamond in the Rough." The Cave of Wonders. So the Cave of Wonders, it sounds like Frank Welker, just with like a deeper vocoder. But it could be very well somebody else. But yeah, it looked very interesting. So yeah, that's what came about on that. So we're going to switch over to the topic of the episode, which is we asked for feedback and add topics, and obviously we weren't disappointed. In just a few moments, I'll be cutting to a clip of myself and Birdman Dodd discussing Nintendo Land coming to Universal as Marvel leaves to rejoin the Great Mouse in the Sky Disney. Scanner 51 asked us, would you consider going to Nintendo Land? And in this clip, we take it a bit further. Also, we kind of briefly discuss Netflix doing the choose your own endings like Black Mirror and things like that, where it kind of nosedived after that. But yeah, so that's where I'm going to leave it. And I'll be back after that.
And now our feature presentation.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek 301 with your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, joined by Mike the Birdman Dodd.
I just wanted to make a dinosaur noise. That's what a dinosaur sounds like, evidently.
That's what dinosaurs sound like, children.
We're starting this show off strong, aren't we, folks?
Oh, yes.
So yes, welcome out to Altered Geek, where we talk about all things altered, geeky, strange, beyond, cool, weird, sometimes some tech news. My wife is doing a rather bizarre dance in the living room, and that's the kind of day it's been. But anyway, so yes, we're here on Altered Geek to talk to you about, well, kind of what's happened in the world over the last week or so, sometimes the topics of interest to us, be them good, bad, or ugly. And we try to keep things positive on this show because the world does not need any more hate.
You mean the world sucks?
Exactly. I don't need any more
want
hateful podcasts because everybody does that negativity thing, and you know what? I'm done with it.
Yep. Done with it. So, since we've progressed past episode 300, Scanner 51 sent a nice topic in of saying, finally, one of the most well-known secrets in the theme park industry has been confirmed. Nintendo Land is coming. In 2020, Marvel characters will be sent up the road back to Disney, and Universal will begin expanding and constructing new parks at their 3 locations. The Mushroom Kingdom, Pokemon Land, a Mario Kart racetrack will be constructed. But most importantly, Hyrule is getting a land. Hyrule takes over Islands of Adventure in Florida. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited for Star Wars Land over here in Disneyland, but Universal just found a better way to get me into their parks. Zelda Link Hyrule. I want to ride Eponia. I hope I get to pull a Master Sword from a pedestal. Would you consider going to Nintendo Land?
See, to me, Hyrule is cool and everything, but I can't think of anything super iconic outside of, say, the Master Sword, Epona, maybe the Temple of Time from the Ocarina of Time, but try and name me 5 enemies from Zelda.
Is Ganon one of them?
Okay, Ganon's one of them.
That's all I know.
Yeah, you got Octoroks, Moblins, Zora, though I think that's a race of people, honestly. I don't know. I mean, it's going to look cool. Basically, to me, Zelda is Nintendo's fantasy, and I know the hatred, the sulk, the tears are coming. I like Zelda. I think it's cool, but the last one I played was A Link Between Worlds, and before that, I played A Link to the Past. I hated Breath of the Wild. I know! Blasphemer! I don't know. I'm also not a Switch gamer. Frankly, blow me. I'm not excited for that. You know what would be cooler, in my opinion, if they wanted something really, really to hype people up? You want to give a scary element to Nintendo Land? You make the planet Zebes. You make Metroid Land. And you turn it into an age-appropriate scare fest where you have Metroids pop out or space pirates. Samus, or if you could turn Metroid into one of those 4D theater experiences where the guy comes out, maybe the ride rocks you back and forth. Maybe you could go through Planet Zebes with Samus or Ron going to defeat Mother Brain, and maybe crap gets sprayed in your face. The rocket ship rocks you around. You turn into the morph ball. You go through like caverns and everything. That would be cool because you could have a horror sci-fi element. With Zelda, you're getting generic fantasy, in my opinion. And like I said, I like the idea behind Zelda, but I'm also the same guy that hates Ocarina of Time. By the way, at Birdman on Twitter, I'm sure I'm going to get replies on this saying, you bastard. I don't know. Zelda, to me, I don't like 3D Zelda. But I don't see a lot of the lore in Zelda. If I'm wrong, tell me where to find all this wonderful lore.
See, I'm not really a huge fan of Zelda anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a fan of like Mario, Donkey Kong, the original 151 Pokemon. Once they got beyond that, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, like once they got past Pokemon Yellow, I'm like, okay, I can't keep track anymore.
Well, once they went Gold and Silver, I tried playing it, and I was like, I want my Charmander. I don't care about your little, your fire dog.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what a Cyndaquil is or a Totodile. Yeah. If it wasn't for Pokemon Go, I wouldn't know what half these creatures are.
Yeah, so I've never played Pokemon Go. I work with somebody that does, though. But yeah, I don't know. I would be more apt to see some of those things. Like maybe if they could get the level of Super Smash Brothers, like level of characters, like if you could get, like a Sonic, a Mega Man, some of those things in there, like I would probably care more just because you'd have more range.
I could see Pokemon World being really cool for this.
Yeah, I could see it.
Especially if they theme it after the original 151. Stick with Kanto and Ash, Brock, and Misty. Incorporate the anime as well as the games and have that cross appeal. I know that's Viz Media, I think, does Pokemon. But, Disney, Pokemon Land, make it awesome. If you're going to go all out, go everything. Go right to the wall with it. I mean, have people dressed up as Pokemon trainers, which they probably will. I know one of the things that happens to conventions, if you have your like 3DS with you or whatever, and you battle a gym leader at a convention, they'll hand you a physical badge to say that you beat them.
That's funny.
Yeah, and if they did that on a Disney scale, you know how cool that would be? Hey, I just beat the rock trainer at Disneyland or Disney World or whatever. Here's an exclusive badge. That's awesome. That's wicked. Because I guarantee you, they're not going to be selling Master Sword replicas at the freaking gift shop. If they do, they'll be toys. They're not going to be cool United Cutlery or whatever. But still, Mario Land makes sense. Mushroom Kingdom, everybody can name 5 Mario enemies. Goombas, Shy Guys, Koopa Troopas, Paratroopas, Piranha Plants, Chain Chomps. Need I go on? And you can name a crap ton of Mario characters. Hell, there are people who still think Zelda is the lead character of the games when it's Link. And I know that meme is old as crap, but I'm not wrong.
No, it is true.
So, I don't know. I think it's going to be super popular, especially with the whole Mario Kart thing, though I can see the liability train a mile away. Because I know there's supposed to be... I don't know how true this is, because I haven't been able to see it for myself. I think supposedly in Niagara Falls there's a Mario Kart track. So I don't know. Your guess is just as good as mine. I'd like to see other things. I mean, I'm more excited for the Marvel and Star Wars stuff at Disneyland and Disney World than I am anything else, especially Star Wars, because practically, hey, 501st want a job, and they've got that big Disney money, so you know they're going to be basically 3D printing Stormtrooper armor or vacuum forming it for the next ever. And plus with the Star Wars live-action TV show, The Mandalorian, that's going to be bringing people in large droves.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Just because, well, one, it's an unexplored territory.
Yeah, exactly. They've touched upon the Mandalorians and Rebels. I imagine in Star Wars Resistance, they'll probably talk about it a chunk. But it's always been a set of the lore that hasn't been explored a whole chunk outside of the expanded universe. It's never been really seen on screen before. So I'm pretty hyped for it. I mean, it's going to be awesome. But going back to Disneyland and Disney World and all that thing, Nintendo has a lot of untapped potential because one of the things I think they could do, especially if they touch some of their older properties, we live in the age of VR. Going back to this 4D ride experience, give everyone a 3D headset or like the HTC Vive or the Oculus or whatever, or something even better. Put them in Star Fox. All right, kids, you and your group of R-Wings are going to fly a mission against Andros. Go. And the ride lasts 10 minutes and it's completely interactive the whole way. You can't die, but you'll have people talking in your ear. You'll have Falco, Slippy, Fox, Pepper all talking to you. That could be really fun. And hell, just the idea of people coming out in costumes could be really awesome too. Like, there's so much potential with Nintendo Land. I mean, once again, I hate the harp on the whole Zelda thing. I see a Zelda-themed restaurant being a better idea than being Hyrule itself. But once again, I may very well be wrong. There's probably some huge Zelda nut out there screaming at their screen right now saying, "But Mike, don't you know about the Wind Waker?" It was cel-shaded, and that's where Toon Link came from, and that's about all I know. So if I'm wrong, tell me. But Mario Land has so many possibilities. So many games to mine from. Like, hell, just going to the restaurants would be cool. Thinking about all the Super Mario themed food and drink you could have. You could even have like Koopa Troopa bowls if you wanted to go the extra mile. Like, I imagine the gift shops will make Nintendo World in New York look like a burned out Toys R Us at this point, because my God, it'll be Disneyland, Disney World prices, but you'll be able to find some amazing exclusive merch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, there's just so many possibilities that I'm stupid excited for this, but I want Nintendo to look at other classic properties that they could take advantage. Like I said, Star Fox, sure, the game for the Wii U sucked, but they thought it was cool enough to do a partnership with Ubisoft and do something. My God, they need to have the World Smash Brothers Finals, not at EVO, but at Nintendo Land. Can you just imagine that?
That would be really cool. The other thing that they could do down there, I was thinking about, is VR Pokemon.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, actually, one thing I've been very curious about is how many Pokestops are down there. Because I play a lot of Pokemon Go now that I have my power wheelchair and I can actually get outside. I'd be very curious just to see how many things spin and how many unique Pokemon you can find down there. Like VR Pokemon, especially now with Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, with the Pokeball accessory you can just wear on your belt and auto cactus Pokemon. So many possibilities, plus special event Pokemon. If you told the Pokemon Go community that their next Pokemon Go event was going to be held at Pokemon Land in Florida or California, it would sell out within minutes. If you told them You can get Mewtwo here. Every legendary Pokemon spawns often. That place, you'd see an uptick in traffic. Sure, it wouldn't be a huge bump from the everyday people, but you get hardcore people going there. I honestly think you could sell Pokemon like vacation packages, and it would sell.
Probably.
That would be awesome. Disney, hire my ass. I have ideas, and you can do it.
They'll just listen to the podcast and steal them from you.
Oh, bastards. But yeah, like there's so many neat ideas that Disney could do. I mean, they're Marvel
Universal
stuff. Yeah, like duh. Actually, I saw this post on Facebook, and it made me sad because we're seeing the revival of Double Dare. I know they filmed a bunch of episodes during the summer and the spring this year, and they're airing them on Nickelodeon. I miss the old Nickelodeon building with the slime fountain down at Universal Studios in Florida.
See, I never got to see it. My wife had told me about it from when she was a kid, and then they like eventually got rid of it, and she was like, yeah, that would have been cool to go see a live show or live taping, but they quit doing it years ago. Yeah,
like that's something I think in the realm of YouTube, and with the revival of Double Dare, I don't know what its numbers were like, but Mark Summers came back. So if you told me they could bring back in Canada, we used to have a show called Video and Arcade Top 10 with Nicholas Pickles. God, that was his real name. I can't remember the guy for the Nick show. What was it called? Nick Arcade, I think.
Yep.
Can you imagine that show now? Like, you could honestly pay a couple of stupid programmers to make a really crappy VR game instead of acting in front of a green screen, and they could do so much. Hell, bring back that Phil Laredo guy. He's not doing anything. I think I've seen him on Facebook. You could do so much. My God, Nickelodeon, you could do so much more instead of these crappy shows you're making. And don't get me started on that Ninja Turtle show. But theme parks are awesome. Hell, now that Power Rangers is owned wholly by Hasbro, do they have any stake in any theme park right now?
I don't know.
Because can you imagine, I mean, when the next Power Ranger show comes out, which is Beast Morphers, if you told me at Universal Studios, if they did it for a summer, here's the Beast Morphers live action show, kind of like how they do the big, like it was Waterworld for years. But you told me there was a live action stage show where they come out, fight a monster, maybe bring out like guys in suits as Zords, and it was like an interactive 20-minute show. I bet you that would generate some pretty big interest in the brand, considering like they bought it from Saban for like some ridiculous amount of money. And the Power Rangers brand under Hasbro will be treated very, very well. I'm actually surprised there's not a Transformers world or something.
I know they've got a show at Universal.
Yeah, and it's like one of those 4D rides or something.
Which whoopie. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many properties that could go well into a theme park. I mean, you couldn't do a Power Rangers theme park. I'm sorry, I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I think it'd be better as a stage show. It would work maybe on exhibit at a theme park. Marvel lends itself to it. Like, here's Spider-Man's neighborhood. Here's Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen. And here is like the SHIELD helicarrier. Or SHIELD headquarters, and here's Agent so-and-so to lead you around for the day. Stuff like that. You could do so much with the Marvel stuff, and that's going to be cool. Star Wars, as we said previously, I don't even need to talk about it because we know the idea is going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with the new show of The Mandalorian and just seeing some Boba Fett-style armor in the show. Plus it's Jon Favreau, so like he's gonna do it justice. And it's set after the fall of the Empire, so it'll be after Return of the Jedi. Yeah, it'll be after Return of the Jedi, but before The Force Awakens.
So in that period before the First Order, when there was the Imperial Remnant, stuff like that. If you remember the old expanded universe novels, which they're gonna throw it all out all that continuity. But I'm sure they'll come up with something just as good. The criminal underside of Star Wars has been explored in novels and books before, and it's been really well fleshed out. It wouldn't surprise me. There was a canceled Star Wars game years ago called Star Wars 1313. It wouldn't surprise me if elements of that game ended up in the Mandalorian TV show, because I think that could be cool. That's a prediction I'm making now. It would be a crime if Daniel Logan, young Boba Fett, didn't get a cameo appearance or something as Boba Fett, although technically Tamura Morrison is Boba Fett, but whatever. I wonder if they'll touch upon that, the old clones. Oh my God, if you gave me live action Commander Rex and it's Tamura Morrison, I know he's a movie star, but really, he's not doing that much, and it's Disney Star Wars money. He's not going to turn it down.
We'll see, I guess.
I mean, realistically, you could even have Anthony Daniels show up as 3PO. Because he just does the voice. It's not him in the suit anymore. At least I don't think it is.
No, it's been him.
Okay. I hear he's a real dick.
Probably based on social media.
Yeah, because I have heard stories, which is unfortunate. Although Jeremy Bullock's a nice guy. He's Boba Fett.
Yeah, I see him post a lot.
And I met David Prowse years ago. He was an okay guy. Although when I met him, he couldn't sign anything because he was really sore and he was just having a really bad day. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll catch you next time. So I didn't feel too bad about it. I just got to say I met Darth Vader, so party on.
Did you get a picture with him?
No, I didn't, because he couldn't stand up because his knees are basically made out of broken glass.
Oh, you should have just been like, hey, I'll just be next to you then.
I just didn't want to bother the guy. I'm like, all right, that's cool, man. I totally get it. Although Tamura Morrison was like, here, I'll give you a promo. Let's talk for a few minutes. And then Daniel Logan is like, I've got a story for you. He's a really nice kid. That kid deserves a lot more recognition than what he gets. I'm trying to think of what else can I talk about theme parks about? I think Universal used to have a Ghostbuster experience at one point.
I know they had X-Men.
Yeah.
There was like an X-Men like show. I was there in like the early 2000s.
That'd be really cool to see.
I had pictures of it somewhere. I'd have to look, but they all get out of like a van, and it's all the X-Men characters and, you know, fighting Magneto, and it was crazy.
One that could work surprisingly well because it relies a lot on simple costumes. You could do Doctor Who real easy. But that's more of a United Kingdom thing. And I imagine there's probably a Doctor Who experience over there in some capacity now that you got like the female Doctor, and that took off really, really well. Although I still miss David Tennant, and I always will. Although Eccleston was a badass. But Jodie Whittaker, I think her name is a really good Doctor. And I think she's going to be a wicked first female Doctor. So hopefully it sets a really awesome precedent. Anyway,
I heard the ratings were really good.
Yeah, and they showed it in theaters and everything. But if you told me I could go to Universal Studios, wherever, and I got a chance to fight Daleks and Cybermen, and hell, Doctor Who is made of nothing but weird aliens. You told me I could do that? Sign me up. Because I know when they do the stuff over in Britain, it's super, super hardcore. I think it would be just as popular over here in North America. Thinking of other things that would be fun to do. Actually, this is kind of neat. This is not a theme park thing, but it's something that's actually happening close to me rather soon. I think it's this weekend. Actually, let me pull up the information because I'm sure we have some listeners in Toronto. So let me talk about it. If you go to between Thursday, October the 11th, and October 14th, if you go to 502 Adelaide Street West in Toronto, from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and then 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., then 1 p.m. to 7, 1 p.m. to 7, you can do a Call of Duty Black Ops 4 themed escape room. I never thought I'd see a Call of Duty experience. I know I think it was Infinite Warfare, they had like paintball out in California for like a bunch of journalists and everything, but this is meant for everybody, I think. So many video games would make really cool theme park ideas. Like, honestly, if I had money, to which I don't, I would do Mass Effect World.
That would be cool.
And it would be like, go on the Citadel, and you could have lunch at the Asari Cafe on Thessia, or go to the Omega markets and buy some illicit goods, and then you can maybe end the day, I don't know, going to Vermeer or some shit like that. I was trying to think of what the planet was. Not the Krogan homeworld. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but I don't think you want to go to a radioactive wasteland. Oh my God, Fallout! Fallout would make an amazing theme park. Basically, you already have it from Nuka World, from Fallout 4. But Fallout would be an amazing experience. The problem is the IP, it's big, but it's not mass appeal big. But if you told me some company would come up, buy a bunch of video game IPs, not Nintendo, but if you told me there was a Sonic world, a Fallout world, Mass Effect, Skyrim, which is basically just generic fantasy, but follow me here. If you told me you could do all these video game worlds and they rotate every couple of years, it would be one of the stupid, most popular attractions for nerds I can think of. You could charge exorbitant amounts of money and people would pay it. Hell, I'm pretty sure if you brought back the Star Trek experience in Las Vegas, it would print money still.
I would love that.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. I mean, if you told me if they converted part of whatever hotel it was, again, the Star Trek, and they did a 1-year test run, it would be so popular. I think the hotel would say, okay, sure. I really do.
If I could sit on the bridge of the Enterprise, I would just be ecstatic.
I would love to be able to visit main engineering and see that warp core. Mm-hmm. I would love to sit on the bridge in my wheelchair and just be able to look out on a view screen, which is, be it overlooking the city, or maybe it's a real-time view of Earth from a satellite or something like that. You could do something really cool with that. Or if it just rotates through high-res images from the Hubble Space Telescope or something neat like that. There is so many possibilities that Las Vegas could do. There's so many experiences Vegas could do. Like, hell, I was surprised when I went to Vegas years ago. They still had the CSI experience was still going on. Who the hell cares about CSI? Fuck that show. I'm sorry. I hate procedurals except for Law and Order SVU.
See, I don't care about any of them. Like, they just bored me to tears.
The only reason I like it is because of Ice-T. And I hope this doesn't sound racist, but me and Blair call it Detective Black Guy because I couldn't remember Ice-T's name one day and it just stuck with me. I'm like, that guy who was in the rap group, and I can't think of his name. He's really popular. He reads D&D. And she's like, oh, Ice-T. I'm like, that's right, that guy. And it just became a meme around our house. So God, I hope that wasn't racist. I'm native, if it helps. I doubt it. Please don't send me letters. Please don't send me letters. But yeah, like there's so many properties that are rich with. Can you imagine? Now, this would have to have happened a couple of years ago when the franchise was super, super hot. If you told me they opened a My Little Pony theme park or attraction, if you told me you could go to Equestria, first off, you are making little boys and little girls happy. That's awesome. The brony crowd would come out in droves for good or bad, depending on what side of the fence you fall in with that fandom. Again, really popular kids franchise. Why are you not doing this? And I could see it being a matter of logistics because that show's in its 7th or 8th season right now. So I doubt the iron is as hot as it once was, say, around season 2 or 3. And planning a theme park cannot be easy. Another video game theme park idea, throwing this out there. Still the most popular MMO to date. WoW. You told me there was a World of Warcraft thing. Well, my upstairs neighbors, who are really good friends of mine, Lacey and Tristan, would pretty much fill the cup, so to speak.
I'm kind of like, meh. WoW was like a while back, so like I really don't have any. Like I don't see like the mass relevance that it had.
Tristan sat me down during the summertime and explained some of the lore to me, and I thought it sounded really cool. The problem is, for a WoW theme park, the time has come and gone. Because it was
should have done it like 5-10 years ago.
Exactly. That would have been great. It would have been a new theme park by now. But yeah, the time to do that would have been about 10 years ago. Trying to think of anything else I could think of off the top of my head. That's what I got.
Well, I know, just switching gears for the final part of the episode, what would you think, since we're kind of spitballing everything anyway, as far as like possibilities with a theme park, possibilities with television shows, and case in point, Netflix allowing users to choose the endings for movies or episodes of popular TV shows.
I think for certain shows that would really work. For like, say, Black Mirror, when the Key and Peele Twilight Zone launches, stuff like that. If you did it with the right movie, because I know there was a rumor a million years ago when Freddy versus Jason came out, there was rumors that certain screenings got a Freddy ending, other screeners got a Jason ending. Yeah, if you did that with the right franchise, you could have a lot of fun, especially with streaming services, because that's maybe an extra 2-3 days on set. And I realize that's a lot of money, but still, if it'll get people watching, why the hell not?
I think it'd be funny to do those points throughout movies.
They tried to do something like this, and it was a video game, kind of. There's a video game called Quantum Break, and your decisions in the game affected the TV show you could watch, which would stream to your Xbox or your computer or whatever. If you let certain people live or die, the episode would play it a little bit differently, or if you found certain things, it would play it a little bit differently. So it has been tried-ish on a more interactive level, but I like the idea of point and click. Although if you told me they made a television show that would play out in 2 separate ways, basically a Paragon run and a Renegade run, that could be a lot of fun. That would be stupid expensive, but just imagine the possibilities. So I think Netflix is definitely on to something. If they can pull this off and pull it off well, that'll be stupid cool.
I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do with it. I know that they said that they'd kind of released an animated program like Puss in Boots or in Book, where viewers could choose whether the cat fights a god or a tree, or where kids can go back and watch, the other one, and then saying how Black Mirror has a main narrative and then being able to go off in another direction. So I mean, I kind of see the interest in trying the choose your own adventure. However, I don't know if that's going to be feasible money wise. I mean, granted, Netflix doesn't really care. They just kind of print money. But it'll be interesting to see whether this is something that more different streaming devices take on, or if this is just like a Netflix thing that they kind of specialize in, because I really don't see anybody else wasting the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So, anything else you want to bring up before we go?
Trying to think of what else. Finally, one of the other projects I work on, as I mentioned on Future Imperfect, is Terrible Warriors. I'm finally starting the season 2 of the Cambridge Chronicles. We're going to be playing Shadowrun 2nd Edition. As of this recording's release, I should have had their characters created. So that'll be exciting to see what Tristan and Alex do to my plans this year. I'm sure it'll end up with someone chained up in a bathtub being hit with a rubber chicken. I'm entirely sure that my epic, grand, sweeping political storyline of intrigue and betrayal will end in a clown car of disaster and stupidity. Because it always does. That's Dungeons and Dragons, folks. The best laid plans go. So stay tuned for that. That'll be on TerribleWarriors.com coming up in the next little bit. We should be airing Marvel's Avengers right now, which I've called Avengers Aftermath, which what happens seconds after Thanos' infamous finger snap. So we will see what happens to my street-level heroes as they battle the Kingpin in what's left of New York City. So we'll find out what happens there. Other than that, keep it locked to my social media. I'm always posting cat pictures and other random meandering thoughts. So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Birdman. I respond to anybody and everybody. I like interaction. I like conversation. It's fun. And a suggestion for the show, Steve, so people can be a little more interactive with us. I have an idea.
Okay.
We need an official Altered Geek or Geekcast Radio Discord. And maybe people can chat at us throughout the day and we can hang out with them. I'm active on it on Terrible Warriors. I play with it on some of my favorite streamers like Fuya and other people like JV2017. So look into that. I think you'll find Discord a lot of fun, especially it's a great tool to interact with people.
I have one for Altered Geek. I just have no idea how to use it.
Well, consider that your homework before the end of the month. Figure it out.
Alrighty, so that clip is over. And so what did you guys think about this episode? Did you like the way that the show was segmented? Did you like how it was broken up? Was there something that just didn't jive well? Was there something that you think could have been done better? We'll still have some like old segments that like, you know, cast your own show type thing that Birdman and I did. I'm planning on having this topic section be a rotating panel of hosts, so I don't have the same people week after week after week. So there may be different people on. I do have Movie Revolt Dan planned for next week, and I have DJ Valentine planned for an episode in the near future. And then Booth Ninja will be back probably monthly at this point, just until his schedule gets figured out a little bit more, and we may have 3 people on, but or I may backlog some episodes of the guest host, as some of those may not be timely. Some of them may be. If they're timely, they'll be released immediately. If not, then it'll probably be backlogged just so that I have a rotating panel. But let me know what you guys think. Please leave a show a review in iTunes. That would help me out. Rate it, review it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're pretty much all over the place. We're on Spreaker, we're on iTunes, we're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it, we're probably there. Share the podcast, tell a friend about it. And again, trying to build it up. If you really enjoy the show, please do that. You can interact with the show as well, letting me know what you're geeking out to weekly by using the hashtag What's Geeky to You, which is always on the Altered Geek page, or there's usually a tweet from myself that goes out weekly. So let me know what you guys think, what you guys want to see on the next episode, whether it's breaking news, a tip of the day, a review, interviews. I'm planning on going back through some catalogs of people that we've podcasted with, or people that we've talked to on this very podcast, and maybe doing an update. So there's a lot of things planned in the ether. So if you guys enjoyed the episode, let me know. And until next time, thank you for listening, and get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.